Good afternoon. My name is Raul Pérez-Enriquez, and I will talk about astronomy and theaters, astronomical rules in the construction of Athens theaters. This collaboration is not only by myself, but with Eduardo Rodas Quito from the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Honduras and Xenophon Moussas of the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens in Greece. This is a presentation prepared for the seminar of dance spirituality to be projected in Athens in this May 2024. Let me begin with this presentation. Well, my abstract has to do with the Greek theaters, were a fundamental part of the development of democracy and culture all around the borders of the Mediterranean Sea. Their architectural features, while not exactly the same, they appear to follow several rules. In this presentation, we are going to show how ancient architects could have been designed the size and orientation of the orchestra and cavea of these kind of buildings. The possible rules have an astronomical origin and are based on Pythagorean criteria for the mnemonic observation of the sun at relevant days of the year. The study covers the theaters built between 500 and 100 BC and that are located today in Greece, Italy, and Turkey. Well, let me begin to say that all public buildings and palaces have a certain function. Their orientation, almost without any exception, are astronomical. The reason of this is to help the people to keep accurate calendars and use it the state for festivities, the civic and financial year, and mainly to predict the weather. In this case, we are talking about the covering of this part of the Mediterranean coast, the role of the theaters, that is a Greek invention and of capital importance. The most significant contribution was the one of educational top recreation that assumed to be the main reason for the existence of theaters and the drama. In the theaters, people got in touch with the knowledge prevailing on the time, but also they could learn about the human behavior and the aspects dealing with the citizenship, formation, history, mythology, geography, ethics, ethos, diplomacy, and more, and much more. Then the main motivation we have to study the theaters from an archaeoastronomical point of view. The theaters have orientation and they were used to keep a proper calendar, and that we assume that the orientations or the main lines towards the sunrise, equinoxes, and solstice could be important. The role of the orchestra, a circular area where the chorus and music the players develop, was the main part of the theater. The most central one, it can be considered that while designing the theater, the ancient architects used a set of design criteria that could change from place to place due to the geographical landscape in the direction of winds, but at the same time, the design criteria have the building to be studied from disciplinary points of view: architecture, acoustic, sound, illumination. In all this knowledge, the known of the sun, which presence in Greek culture was incorporated throughout the pantheon, with Apollo as the top place, played the role of the main aspects of the life. In particular, we have few years ago have presented a study involving the sun within this criteria for the temples oriented to Apollo worship. UNESCO has developed several criteria, and between them we can describe several as the construction of the theaters, the seating of the theaters. The theaters are incontrovertibly proof of the development of democracy and the grade of development of the society, and also other criteria that have related to the type of use and making the elements of taking account the natural environment. But the main function is that it is a concept of architecture and functional point of view has proved extremely influential through the ages, becoming a model for multitude of polyconic structures even in the present day. These criterions prove intellectually, technological, political, and social level attained by the Greek civilization in the classic times. They are inextricably linked to the spirit and operation of democracy as it appears in the 5th century BC. That this is part of the place of the antiquity where first performed, including tragedies as Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and the comedies of Aristophanes, unsurpassed literature masterpieces that have influenced dramatic production worldwide. But we are not to review all the theaters designed, but we are only to review 23 ancient theaters located in zones of in the actual places, Italy, Greece, and Turkey, that were all in the borders of the Mediterranean Sea, that were influence of Greek culture. The basic characteristics of all these buildings are that have a circular orchestra, an amplitude theater, and a scene that could be known. This diagram shows how the orchestra and the cavea or theatron are related, and also how the retaining walls and this Pascaria were related to these figures. It is important to show that and we identify 3 main points in that, or maybe 4. The first is the radius of the orchestra. This means the radius of the orchestra goes from the center to the border of the orchestra, the circular region in the theater. The azimuths are related to the orchestra's radius, or this direction coming from a line that is oriented, and in this case, the shadow of an omon in the center will project the shadow in the direction of this radius. And also another direction important is the azimuth given by the theater slope, that could be this other direction, the number 3 here, and also is the north direction that is not related with the others because several issues make that this direction is not the same in all the buildings, or are more related with the environmental region or where it is located. And this means considers that all of them were built between 500 BC to 100 BC. This means are pre-Vitruvian era, where after that, all in the Vitruvian were done more following the criteria introduced by Vitruvius in books of the architecture, the 10 books of architecture. And then, as Lara says, the Vitruvius methods, the diameter of the orchestra is not defined. It is selected by the architect. We are going to try to see how kind of criteria was used in order to define this radius of the orchestra. And no mention is definitely in the radius, neither the orientation of that. We use some units of measure that some was located in the marketplace stone as units of length are engraved, where the foot and royal foot appears on it, and we also see the palm, finger, and other arm are shown. These theaters are many of them around, but as I mentioned, we are going to consider only 23 theaters located in the following: 7 in Italy, 9 in Greece, and 7 in Turkey. In yellow, located in this part, we are going to have the Greek ones. In green, here, the points in here that are in the main Greek part of Earth, and also the Turkey one that are located near the Mediterranean Sea border of the sea. Giving a name of the theater, the country zone, the year of the construction, the cavea and the orchestra width, and the high above sea level, and the latitude for the coordinates and the longitude associated with the coordinates. We need those figures in order to estimate first the mnemonic factor of each of the buildings. That is a way to identify them. And as you can see, we have of all these theaters, we have enough information about the date of the construction and the latitude and longitude that and also the dimensions of the parts of the orchestra radius or diameter in this case, and the cavea in meters. Our hypothesis is based on the suggested that the radius was defined by the shadow of a gnomon located in a center in the date of equinox or winter solstice. This means when the is in the shortest day of the year, and the shadow corresponds as cast by a sun while crossing the azimuth I mentioned in the first place, the azimuth for the radius, and this shadow must be a significant multiple of the length of the gnomon. All the shadows are related to the gnomon, and we can explain it in terms of the gnomon. It no matter which is the height of the gnomon, we have the same fraction representative of the length of the shadow. Then this is an integer multiple of the unit of length of an hypothetical gnomon. Of the gnomon, the shadow of the gnomon, and gives the radius. And these directions here, as I will mention later, are related with that. The methodology was to review all of the theaters in terms of information available in several kind of reports, the geographical reports, the reports of Google Earth, and reports of the dimensions of the theater. The other thing is that all the measurements were made as is look here. For example, this is the sun. The azimuth direction was considered the continuation to have the direction of the gnomon, and the presence of the height of the sun in the mentioned winter solstice date, for example, was taken into account. This is so you call the cut. I don't go into much to details on this. We have distribution of the theaters, the gnomon size, the unit of length, the theater slopes, and the level of the cutlet behavior. We have here that in some way the buildings were following in the first part of this period from 500 to 300 were almost all of them in region of latitudes 2 and 3, but around 300 to 100 BC, we have the evolution of the places where the evolution of the theaters looking forward to some this latitudes that goes from 36.3 to 40 that are almost all. As you can see, the majority of them are 16 theaters that are in between 37 and 38 degrees. That could be called as the optimum for that the reason. As you can see, there is this evolution in the latitudes considered. Well, the main results of this analysis of the radius of the orchestra is that the radius are integral times of the gnomon. Other are not exactly the same size of the gnomon, but the mean value of the unit of length is 0.302 meters, and a correlation was found. The unit of all the unit mean value for the units is 31.0383, and this in centimeters, and the gnomon size is around 4.6 and 6 meters, with a unit of length defined by 32 centimeters and 0.21 millimeters. This means that we have this behavior, and by region, if we consider, we have in Greece is practically 32 centimeters. The size of the gnomon is around 14 times the gnomon. Let me cross away this only to show the one was mentioned. Here we mention how the orchestral radius behaves with the reason for the location is we have deduced, and here we see the evolution of the normal size in going from 6 to 22, but around defining a unit of length of 32 centimeters in mean value for 16 times the normal. And the unit of length using this kind of analysis, the unit of length that involved the size of the normal was evolution from 0.31 or 31 centimeters to 32.3 centimeters and as high as 32.2. But in this case, we have more cases here, and this means the mean value could be 32.3. And this is around as I mentioned, the 300 years before our time. This is part of the royal foot mentioned, and it seems to be this royal foot we found is very similar to the values we used. We found more than used. We found in the table. We make also analysis for the theatron, but this will be another discussion, more complete. Let me only say that the slope of the theatron also evolves through time and through latitudes, seeming that there is a certain evolution and a certain value of the slope of the theaters in around the latitude of 38.5 degrees of latitude. We consider that it is possible that in between others, a design criteria relating the use of the normal to define the size of the orchestra and the orientation of the theatron results feasible for the Mediterranean Greek theaters, which description was introduced later by Vitruvius in a quantitative form in his book, The 10 Books of Architecture. These are the criteria, these are the latitudes, these are the direction of the north, and these are the way we took analysis in order to find all these results. These are and I want to thank you, the Universidad de Sonora and the University of Nacional Autónoma de Honduras and the National Kapodistrian University of Athens. Thank you very much for your attention.